Good morning, everybody. This is Martin John, and I'm here doing Tao of the Day, 7 a.m. Central Time. Today, I usually do it in the morning, sometime Central Time. So, yeah, we're right on schedule. I love the Tao Te Ching. It is an ancient text written about 600 BCE, and it is filled with all of this sort of enigmatic wisdom about how to live in accordance with the nature of the universe. The nature of the universe is as such that it's hard to grasp it. We are only part of the universe. Everybody says we are all one, and that is true. We are only part of that, right? There is a whole, like, one cell in your body cannot understand you. It is only part of you. And very similarly, we are part of the universe. So we can't understand the whole thing, but we can live in collaboration with it. If we do our part, stop trying to be the center of the universe, then we will have a life full with fulfillment and with health and with joy, because we are being supported by the entirety of the universe, the entirety of all things. And so, at the center of that, because we have language, we call this Tao. And Tao is the natural order of things. And when you can align with the natural order of things, you are more able to succeed at what you do. And when I say succeed, it doesn't mean that you get what you want. It just means that you are able to accomplish the things that you didn't even really set out to accomplish. See, if you start by saying, I want something, then you are not living in accordance with the nature of the universe. Because it is that aspect of the universe that we are in collaboration with. It's not about what you want. Isabel, how are you today?
Good morning, my friend.
Good morning. How are you?
I am good. Ha- So, I loved what you said. That's great. Um, how was your weekend? You're good?
Yeah, this weekend was bad. I mean,
Okay.
if I were to label it something, I wouldn't say it was good.
Okay.
It was challenging,
Okay.
and it's yeah. I mean, it's fine. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah.
all things considered.
Yep.
Um, like I'm healthy, everything's fine. It's just, sometimes you get stuck, and it gets a little overwhelming, and that happens. And then, you remind yourself that this is just what you're experiencing right now, and then you move on.
Yeah.
But that is a point where, like, when you get in the body, when you get caught having feelings, when you get caught having, like, I wish things were different, well, then, you get into that place of wanting to escape, right? You get into that place of wanting to pacify with food or with distraction and other things
Sure.
like that. And although I met all of those challenges very well, in terms of keeping myself, me,
Yeah, yeah,
it was
yeah.
still, those were still present.
Listen, it was a full moon. It was in the Cancer house. I talked to a lot of psychics around the world, and we're it doesn't matter if you believe it or not. To me, it's electric magnetic fields, and there's just energy shit going on, right?
Yeah, no, and and that's a great thing, right? And that's something that I was able to access yesterday morning, which was very much this isn't me, right? This isn't my ego, like, having an experience. This is something bigger. I don't need a why. I just need to be here, with
Yep.
whatever this is, and
Whatever it
so,
is.
yeah. And
Yep.
so, when I say, when I say it was challenging for me. You know what I mean? And that means that it was just outside of the norm. And
Yep.
challenges,
You
like comfort
you're
is
not
not what I'm looking for, right? Like,
not
I'm
alone. You
looking,
are not. Yeah,
right?
I'm
Yeah.
I'm telling you, Martin. I mean, these are all people who've done a lot of soul work. Do you know what I mean? These are
Yeah.
these are these are college graduates. These are not freshmen that I'm
Right.
talking to.
Yeah.
And
And
they even felt it. There was a
yeah,
lot
no,
of like,
it was definitely a powerful. you
It
know.
was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I mean, it started, like Friday. I did my healing work at a yoga studio, and that was wonderful. But then, that really, uh, like opened me up to some big stuff over the weekend, and it was good. It was all like I'm always welcoming to what is. But when you ask
Yeah.
me how was your weekend, I was like,
Yeah.
well, this is how it was. Like,
Yeah, I know, I know, I know, I know, I
yeah,
know. I mean, we were laughing, the teachers and I, we were laughing. I was just like, I'm like, it just feels like, you're just like walking along and then you twist your ankle.
yeah,
You're like, oh,
yeah. And then
hi.
and then like a couple steps later, you slip and fall, and then it's
Yes.
like. And then you get up and you try to jog it off, and you walk into a branch of a tree, and it's like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah. And then we were laughing and then like they all felt nauseous. Just so you know, they all felt like
uh,
dizzy, nauseous, wanted to throw up. I'm like, yeah, 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 welcome.
yeah,
Welcome.
well, to this moment. No, I was definitely with you guys. It was like,
Yeah,
and I
totally.
reached out to another friend of mine who actually has the same birthday as I do, and sometimes we reach out to each other because we're like,
Cool.
hey, is this going on?
Yeah.
And they're like, yes, yes, this is going on. And it's just nice to have that confirmation of like, okay, it's just this isn't me, this is energetic, this is universal, we're good.
Yeah,
Keep
well,
going.
it's so funny, and then I'll give you my number,
Yeah.
which is 23, so you can get to it.
Okay.
Um, what's interesting is when I I took my mushroom journey and then they touched very lightly on it, but then I channeled around it. But what's interesting is just like the numbers, like so Martin, I never studied astrology. I never studied numerology. I've kind of read some stuff here and there, energetic, but I have a friend who's a psychic who's really into astrology. And then I have friends who are Sikhs. They believe in that whole yogi kind of um, paradigm or modality, not paradigm, but that belief. Because like to me, it doesn't matter. So, but what I can't help notice was a pattern. There was like a pattern to the planets. There was like a pattern to the numbers. There was a the like how we're going into the Aquarius age.
Yeah.
Like what does that even matter, right? And the scientist of me knows there's electromagnetic fields or whatever. But anyways, this is what I want to share with you really quick. Source, prime creator, this is how I interpreted it.
Hmm.
Okay? But
Hmm.
this is what I got, the gist. They Source was explaining to me that the design is for expansion, is to always have new experiences and expansive expansion to know thyself. Because Source wanted to know thyself, right?
Hmm.
To experience thyself through creation of all that is. So I'm like, okay. So Source said, when we go into a new year, a new month, a new date, as we travel through the cosmos, like because Earth is moving through the Milky Way is moving through the universe, and so forth. Everything's in motion, right? Source, this is how it was explained to me. So let's say we go into the year of bluegrass music. There's a certain frequency and vibration and feel of bluegrass music. Then the following year, we might go into heavy metal. Heavy metal and bluegrass music is very different, but it's still music. It's still notes. It's still a frequency of sound, right? So there are certain themes that has been created so that we could have new experiences and feelings and express our light in these themes. And there's like big themes to little themes to like it like Martin, it was so flipping cool to get the download. I'm like, that's ingenious. Again, which I knew source was ingenious, but now it kind of clicked the pieces of what the people who study numerology and the people who study astrology, it's like, they're just telling me what kind of concert I'm in. And it changes over time.
Yeah, I mean, every millisecond it's changing. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and when you kind of speak of that, like, earlier when I was talking about, like, you are only part of the universe, so you can't really, you can't have all of the information of the universe.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
one cell of your body can't have information about the whole body.
Yep.
It can't hold that information.
Hmm.
Like all of the ancient texts of, like, you cannot just see God. Like, you are not, like, in the Bhagavad Gita, like when I forget his name, when he saw God, it was just so overwhelming and crazy for him. He
Yeah.
couldn't witness it, And that's
Yep.
the thing. Like,
Yep.
we think well, we can understand,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
and the reason that all of these things exist, astrology, numerology, is because there is something at the core of all of this. And the
Yep.
people who have, like, numerology exists. You don't have to study numerology. It exists.
Yep.
It
Yeah.
existed,
Exactly.
and it
Yeah.
wasn't
Yeah.
called numerology. It wasn't until it was called numerology that it became, like, it was great, and then someone called it numerology, right? It was real, and then someone decided to write a fucking book.
Uh-huh.
It was amazing and magical, and everything was there, and then someone decided to give it a name.
Yeah. 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 That's
And
us.
and so when you say, like, I never studied numerology, I was like, you're living it.
Yep.
You just
Yep.
didn't study what some other asshole thought, right? Same with astrology. You
Yep.
live
Yep. Yep.
it, and you just don't have to read 7 million books written by millions of people who think they know.
Uh-huh.
When you
Uh-huh.
can give up your needing to know, then you
Yeah.
will have more than those books could ever express.
Yeah.
So as we move into number 23, what it states is it's about speaking of Tao, which is what we're doing right now.
How funny.
When you speak, say what is to be said, but no more. Neither wind nor storms last all day. Nature expresses itself completely, no matter how wild it may get, then it returns to stillness. When you open yourself to Tao, you say what is to be said. Everyone will agree, because when you speak from Tao, only Tao can be heard. He who aligns with Tao will only hear Tao. He who aligns with manifestation will only hear manifestation. He who aligns with failure will only hear failure. How is it how it is heard is not your concern. Trust what is to be said, and everything will fall into place.
Huh. That's pretty cool.
What I like about this is, like, what it says to me is that, whatever you say, just be honest and say it aligned with who you are right now. And do not concern yourself with how it is received. Do not try and think that you need to say it again to be understood, because those who hear it in a misunderstood way, they might be aligned with something different and need to hear that. When it says here, he who aligns with manifestation will only hear manifestation. He who aligns with failure will only hear failure. Like, the only thing that someone can hear is what they're aligned with.
Yeah. Yeah. I say like it's a vibrational match, but it's also their internal beliefs, their fears, their inner child, their ego, right? Like if I say something and they're triggered, it's internal to them because I can't create in their reality. I'm not I'm not responsible. which is funny because I have a communication major, and and I was taught in college I'm responsible for communication. I'm responsible how somebody receives my communication. Speak to my audience, know my audience, understand the failings of communication, right? But the Tao and now what Spirit has taught me is I'm not responsible if I trigger someone.
Right.
That's their fear.
Right. The fear of communication when it is surrounded by the masculine structural sort of will, right? When you have a desire, that the Tao says don't desire, but our world of the masculine sort of logic world is like have a desire and move towards it. And if you have a desire to manipulate the people, then you want to manipulate the way that you speak so that you can
Mm,
manipulate others. And by manipulating them is you make sure that they hear what you want them to hear. And when they
mm,
don't, you can get on your high horse and say, well, you're ignorant, right? And you don't know as much.
mhm, mhm,
And then
mhm.
and that's how communication has been, like that's marketing, really, right? Like that's
Yeah.
marketing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like when you want to control what the listener hears, that's marketing. Manipulation, whatever, however
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I love how this ends. How it is heard is not your concern. Trust
Yeah.
what is to be said, and that's coming from within you, and everything will fall into place.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking your truth, your perspective, sharing your perspective without fear.
Yeah. Just
Yeah.
speaking, saying what needs to be said,
Yeah.
and no more.
And no
Thank you
more.
so much, Isabel.
You're welcome, love.
Love you. Bye. We're gonna bring up Michael Kent. We saw Michael Kent last week, and we new to wisdom. Let's see what we can see. Um, oh, nope. Michael Kent stepped out. Quite all right. If anybody else wants to come up and pick a number, I'm going to go ahead and read this 23 one more time. When you speak, say what is to be said, but no more. Neither wind nor storms last all day. Nature expresses itself completely, no matter how wild it may get. Like this is every time I read this, I get a little stuffed up on this, a little flubbed up on this, on the way this, I think, the way that I wanted this to be read. When you speak, say what is to be said and no more. Neither wind nor storms last all day. Nature expresses itself completely, no matter how wild it may get. Then it returns to stillness. That's how I wanted it to write. So, neither wind nor storms last all day, period. Nature expresses itself completely. Nature expresses itself completely, no matter how wild it may get. See, I think I need an and there. Nature expresses itself completely, and no matter how wild it may get, it returns to. Hmm. See, like what I'm trying to express here is nature expresses itself completely, and although it can get very wild, it will return to stillness. So nature expresses itself completely, no matter how wild it may get. Then it returns to stillness. That then is the thing that's getting me. See, no matter how wild it may get, it always returns to stillness. That's how I should express this, right? No matter how wild it may get, it then so not then it returns to stillness, it then returns to stillness. No matter how wild it may get, it then returns to stillness. So yeah, and my computer just crashed because I'm having like those those computer issues, those issues that I was talking with Isabel about, yeah, those are still kind of happening, but I'm just rolling with it. So yeah, my computer just crashed. My other computer, the one that I normally use, isn't turning on. So we're just gonna roll with this. Thank you so much, Isabel, for joining me for number 23. If you guys benefit from the work that I do here on Wisdom, I'd always appreciate uh, a little support through a little tip through Venmo at @MartinJohn_Garcia. And I don't have my physical version of the Tao around, so I'm going to go ahead and end this. Thank you so much to Isabel and Michael for coming up, even though Michael had to step away. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. And until next time, keep recovering yourself.